Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 135 of Photo Critiques. And in this episode, I'm very pleased to critique the work of Bill Farr. Bill sent me in some really nice shots. This first one, the waterfall, I really like the angle you took on it. You have some nice, the rocks in the foreground here, some moving water. This was a quarter of a second at f/20 ISO 100. I'm sure you stopped it down that far to get the longer shutter speed so you could get this silky look of the water. One thing about this, it looks like it was probably an overcast day, and what I found, I have a lot of little waterfalls around me, around my house, within very short driving distances, and I photographed them a lot. And what I found is when it's overcast, they tend not to be as stunning as a shot, and as stunning as they could be. This is a very nice shot, don't get me wrong, but what I found is sometimes if you add little patches of light to it, it adds to the it adds some interest, it adds some depth to the shot, because the light is so flat right now because it was overcast. And it's real easy to do in Lightroom. You could use the radial filter, and you would invert the mask, and you would turn the exposure up, and you could just draw some light. I'm sorry, I can't talk. You guys know I've been doing this for a while. I can't talk and do Lightroom stuff at the same time. I'm kind of odd like that. So you could just add some patches of light here and there. I'm doing them real quick. You wouldn't do them all at the same brightness like I just did here, but that's the idea. It kind of just adds some depth. Now I'll show you. There's the before, and there's the after. I just did that in 10 seconds or less. So I would suggest, though, you take your time and place them properly. You might want to add some contrast to one, take contrast away from another one, do stuff like that. And it just adds, as I mentioned, some more depth to the picture, and it adds more texture to the shot. So there, one more time, there's before and there's after. This shot too, same waterfall probably. Again, it very overcast, so it's got just kind of very flat light. So we'll do it one more time. We'll just add. You notice I'm not going on the water. I'm not going on the brightest parts. I'm going on the darker parts generally, and just to add a little interest like that. Something like that, I think. There's the take that out of there. There's before, after, before, after. I just added 3 real quick. You might want to add one down here too, and I'd add it in kind of an oval so it's pointing more this way towards, helps draw you into the shot a little more. So that's just something to think about. I admit it's not everyone's style to modify an image like this, but it just adds some depth. And again, you take your time and do it a lot better than I did. This one over here is a little too bright. This is a beautiful shot, Bill. This is fantastic. I'll go again, as I say a zillion times, when we're focusing on an animal, we always focus on the eye, and you could see Bill did that here wonderfully. This is 1/2000th of a second, and we still have a little movement in the hummingbird's wings, and that's what you want. You don't want it to look like it's just floating there, hanging in midair. You want it to give a little sense of motion so people know that that bird was flapping his wings. He did a really nice job here. f/5.6 ISO 800. The f-stop, of course, helps blur out the background, which looks like it could have been distracting. You did a nice job of blurring it out. The hummingbird feeder, of course, these are fake flowers. You did a nice job of minimizing that, because we don't want to see that. We want to see real flowers if we're going to see a flower. So you did a real nice job of minimizing that. The only other thing I might suggest is to help minimize that a little more, and I do this all the time, as you guys know, is add a vignette. If you just add that slight vignette, it helps draw the viewer's gaze towards the middle where the hummingbird is. We don't want them to dwell over here too long. So there's before, there's after. This shot here, I love this effect right here that you did, this diamond effect, which is really really nice. I really like that. And I like the focus, looks great. And again, you froze the wings, but there's a tiny bit of movement in the wing tips, which is what we want. The only thing is the hummingbird's head is in the flower, and that is, spoiler. We really got to see the entire hummingbird head. We could miss part of the beak, a little bit maybe, not a lot. You don't want the entire beak stuffed in there. So we could see the beak actually will act as a leading line to help you lead it through the bird. So we in this shot here is just his head is too far into the flower, or fake flower in this case. But I do really like this effect you did here. Again, this is similar to the vignette I did before. It helps, keep everyone's attention on the bird. This is again, great focus, great focus. In general, if you're photographing birds, though, you tend to not want man-made items in the shot if possible. Of course, everyone knows chickadees are going to be all over your feeders all the time, and it's very common. That's why typically we'll put our feeder up, and then we put like we'll put them either near like a tree where there's some branches that we know the birds will land, but where we could photograph them easily, or we'll put some branches there. We'll tie up, some sticks and stuff and bend them in such a way and put them in such a way that it'll be near this, but we could then get the bird when it lights on the branch. Especially chickadees, they seem to work their way towards the food and then fly away, and then work their way towards the food and then fly away. And that's what we do. Is so we, like in this case here, we might take a very like a malleable stick, something very long, and tie it down here on one end, and bring it down and bend it slightly, and then stick the other end in the ground, so we have it kind of going horizontally for several inches, then down. Then the bird will land where it's going horizontally, hopefully, and we could take a shot without this suet holder in the shot, or in this case it's a bread holder, but you guys know what I mean. It's a really nice shot, really nice shot. I like that you have it, the hummingbird is on the left, the beak and the face are pointing to the larger part of the image. We don't ever want, if this bird was facing the other way, it would be a horrible picture, because the bird looks like it's just going to fall off the page, off the frame. We don't want that. We want the bird looking to the bigger part of the image. Did a great job. The processing is excellent. It's just a nice shot. It's a really, really nice shot. Nice bokeh back here, helps separate the bird from the rest of it. Rest of the image, I should say. And it was 1/400th of a second, f/7.1, ISO 200. It was 400 millimeters. That of course helped. That 400 millimeters got that bokeh. Very well done. A nice shot. We got part of the frame over here of the window coming through, so it's really not as hard as it might look to photograph lightning. Generally, how I do it, there's a couple different ways, and the way most people do it, I think, is we set our shutter speed on bulb, they call it. So when you touch the shutter button, the shutter opens, and it will stay open till you hit the shutter button again. Now typically I do this with a shutter release, so I don't actually have to touch the camera. And what you would do is you would just point your camera at something interesting where you've seen lightning coming down, and you would open the shutter, and you just wait until some bolts come down, and then you would close the shutter, because that's all it takes is one bolt to really expose it. Now typically what you would want to do is try to find something interesting. We have this hillside here, it's a nice scene, but it would be nice if there was something, here, a tower, a light tower, or a house, or a cottage, or something else to be like a subject, something that would be a subject, let's say in the daytime scene, that you would take a picture of this during the day. So then adding the lightning at the, just puts it over the top. Now this one I want to show you something. Bill sent me some images. He sent me 9 images. Then a little while later, maybe I don't know, several days later, he sent me this one, and he cropped it. And he asked me if I could use this one instead. So I did. But I kept the other one too, because I wanted to show you guys the other one too. And I like this one. Now I know why he might have cropped it is because we have all this empty space here where the water is, and he cropped it so we taken advantage of these really colorful reflections. And I like his crop. I like this one too, but why I like this one is because the shadow of the hill or mountain that's in the water is very gives very appealing lines to help lead you and makes it symmetrical, a little symmetrical. So it really helps lead you into the center of the photograph. So this one works too. This one though I do like. I do like what Bill did here, and it's nice. You could like get a panorama print of this now. So it's really nice, and I really like the colors here. So whereas this one more emphasizes color, this one more emphasizes lines. But it's either one. Very nice shot, Bill. I like them both. I'm looking at, I might like this one a little better. But this one still is very nice shot. This is a nice shot too. The colors are just like magnificent. One thing I gotta say though, it's a little dark, and I don't know how many of the people listening to this, watching my videos, if you calibrate your monitor, because I calibrate my monitor and I could tell that this is a little dark. So if I'm going to print this, it's going to come out a little dark, and dark prints tend to not look as good. You want some texture, you want to see some detail in the darkest parts, and you want to try to, I'm not saying you should have no like absolute blacks in your shot. You should. They add depth and they add texture to the shot. You just don't want too much of it, because then it doesn't look as appealing. It just doesn't look as appealing if you have too much. Well, how much is too much? Well, that's kind of up to you. But if you have a calibrated monitor, you'll be consistent every time. If your monitor isn't calibrated, it might look perfect on your monitor, but on someone else's monitor that is calibrated, you know, correctly, it might look too dark or too bright, and the colors might be off too. So you really should calibrate your monitor. They sell these calibrators at Amazon.com. You just put search for monitor calibration. I use the Spider Pro is what I use, and it's a little device that lays on the screen of your monitor. It comes with software, and really it's just like a run it and it does its job. It just calibrates the monitor automatically, and it does a real nice job. Now in this case, as I mentioned, this one's a little dark. If I go over the histogram, you can see how the histogram's way up here against the left hand side. That means there's a lot of dark in here. Now some shots are going to have a lot of dark. If you're taking a picture of a dark spooky hallway and there's a ghost at the end, of course it's going to be really lined up over here to the left. But if I hover over this little triangle here, you can see all that blue. That means that is clipping. That is absolute black. Now if I click on that triangle, that blue will stay there. Once a week I get somebody emailing me saying that they have this blue and they can't get rid of it. That means you accidentally clicked on this. If you have red, you accidentally clicked on that one. What this one does, that will show the highlights that are clipped, and you can see as I hover over it, there's no highlights being clipped, or we'd see red blotches. So as I started to say, is we have this blue, and we have a lot. That's just a lot. So we would want to generally just we'd actually do this with setting the white and black points when we're processing the raw image, but since I have the JPEG, all I could really do is open up the shadows. The white and black points I don't think will do it as readily. Now you can see I moved the histogram to the right, and there's the before and there's the after, before, after, and we see we get more detail in here. Now if that's a little too much, you can bring it down. It depends, it's your own taste. But let me close this so you can see. But we do have more detail in the branch. We see the trunks of the trees more so, whereas that was very dark. And there is that. We could go like this and show this is the before and this is the after. And we still keep the stupendous, tremendous color. We just added a little more detail, particularly in the middle. So that's just a suggestion, and really everyone, you should calibrate your monitor if you're really getting serious into photography, especially if you're going to be trying to sell prints and you're not actually printing them yourself. If you're going to be, let's say, putting them up on SmugMug for other people to buy, if your monitor's not calibrated right, SmugMug doesn't know that. So when they print them, they're going to print them as though you had a calibrated monitor, or that's the way you want them. So they might be dark, they might be the oranges might be too far towards yellow, and the blues might be too far towards purple. There's going to be, things that aren't right. So make sure you calibrate your monitors if you're going to be serious about photography, if you're going to start selling your prints, or if you're putting your prints on stock photo sites, you want to still sell stock images. Really need a calibrated monitor so everything is perfect. And that's it, I think. Yep, that's it for Bill. Bill, thank you for sharing your images with us. I really enjoy looking at Bill's work. We've done some critiques of his in the past. He's very, very talented, obviously. Did a great job. Thanks, Bill. And I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos. I really appreciate it. If you guys have time, go over to my website, anthonymorganti.com. I got all kinds of photography stuff over there. And if you can, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.